Hey everyone, my name is Whitney Taylor and welcome to my channel. This is a place where you will find all things endurance, strength, and nutrition for women. We do education, we do product reviews, we do it all. But today, I'm going to talk about my story. I'm not going to teach. I want you guys to hear how I got to coaching women one-on-one, doing group coaching, as well as just involved in this industry and the movement of changing the culture and the conversation around women in sport. So we're going to go back to the beginning when I found running. So my mom has always been a runner. She was a big time runner when she had me, and then a couple of years later after she had my brother was actually when she was like peaking in her running phase. And she would take us to races every single weekend. I myself I didn't look at myself as an athlete, and I wasn't good at any type of sport. My parents put me in soccer and softball. I tried out for the volleyball team. I tried out for the tennis team. I was terrible at everything and I got cut at everything. And so I just thought that I was not an athletic person, that I had no skill set in that, and that was just going to be my life. It wasn't until I joined gymnastics when I was younger, and that was something that I could stick with for a little bit. And I also swam, but I wasn't great at it. I was a mediocre swimmer and I didn't do anything special. So I stopped swimming probably, I think it was my freshman year in high school. And after that, my mom one day told me I needed to go on a run with her. And this was a 1 mile run around our neighborhood. I vividly remember it because I remember like we were maybe a fourth of a mile away from the house and I wanted to puke and I was so mad at her. I hated running and I told her I would never run again. And then eventually I don't remember when, but I ended up signing up for a 5K because it was a mother-daughter bonding experience and I fell in love. The moment I crossed that finish line, something took over my body. And for those of you that are runners or that do triathlons, it's the same feeling. That moment that you cross that finish line, you want more. There's that euphoric feeling in your body that there's no words to explain it. You want more and you need more. And that's what I experienced with running. And so I started running in high school, and it was running for fun. It was just me running just because I enjoyed it. It was a place where I could clear my head, and it was really where I kind of buried myself in high school. I struggled with a lot of insecurities and a lot of body image issues in high school. And so this was my safe place where I could go and I could just run. I also started falling in love with nutrition. So food was always interesting to me. My grandmother was very big into cooking. My grandpa is Greek. And so I grew up around food and I loved food. I loved good food. And so I got into grocery shopping for the family in high school. I would cook dinners for our family in high school. It was like that was my fun, was cooking and going on runs. And that just continued to escalate as I got into college, yet I was on my own. And so I could control what I was doing and how often I was doing it. So I became this runner chick that just for my personal health would go out and I would run, and I did not join a team. It was just I enjoyed running. I enjoyed working out. And so I dove into the nutrition and the running hardcore. That's what I was, a psychology major, but I did an independent research with my professor for 2 years, and we focused on women's body issues, objectifying women, and how that plays out in society. And so it was something that brought me joy. I would wake up at 4:30, 5:30 in the morning, and I would be reading my blogs, my food blogs, while I was drinking my coffee, planning out my run for the day. I wrote a 12-page paper on Trader Joe's because that was like my happy time, was when I would go shopping at Trader Joe's and get cool new things, come home, cook dinner, and read my blogs and do my research. And so my college life was not super exciting. I didn't go out and do all of the crazy party stuff often. I really focused in on that, and it was my life. Shortly after college, it was actually the year that I grabbed my senior year in college. I had just graduated and I had decided to run my first marathon. Super stoked about it, trained really hard. It was the Disney Marathon. I was running it on my 21st birthday. It was a great thing. And then after I crossed that finish line again, I was like, okay, so what's next? What's my next race? So I was training for another marathon after I had recently gotten my full-time adult job, which was in the endurance space. It was just like everything was coming together. I was working for a really cool startup company that we were working with race directors, building registration platforms. I was getting to talk to the race directors where I was running their races. It was just, everything was wonderful. And then a couple of weeks before my marathon, I went out on an 18-mile training run. And about halfway through that run, I stepped off of a curb. And I remember excruciating pain shooting through my pelvis. And I just thought, damn, I wasn't supposed to start my period yet. I just assumed that it was period pain because I had always had terrible periods. And so my initial thought was like, okay, cool, push through the pain. We got to finish this. We have 7 more miles left. Let's go. And then the pain started moving through to like my hamstring and my butt area. And so I was like, okay, maybe I tore my hamstring or did something there, but I think I can handle running through this pain. So I finished my 18 miles. And after I finished and I stopped, when I tried to move again, oh, it was so painful. I sat and it was actually, I got in a swimming pool that was freezing cold because this was in the fall, and I sat in it for a little bit just to see if that would help. And then I decided to take I think I took like a week and a half off. I was giving it a break, gonna let it rest, and then I was gonna try to get out and run because I had a race in a couple of weeks. And so the day that I decided to get out and go run again, I went out into our cul-de-sac and I went to take my first step running and I collapsed in the cul-de-sac. I've never felt pain like that before, ever. Like that pain, I don't have words for that pain. And I didn't know what to do. I just started crying. And so my mom takes me to the doctor the next day, and I go in with this mindset of, okay, I have a race coming up soon and I need to run it. So how do we fix this now? Can we give me a shot, numb the pain, and then we talk about whatever's going on later? That didn't happen. I fractured my pelvis training for a marathon at 22 or 23 years old. And I'm crying because I didn't know then what I know now, and no doctor talked this through with me or told me that anything was truly wrong other than that I needed medication. And now I know that there were so many things wrong with that situation. You should not fracture your pelvis from running. You should not be diagnosed with osteopenia at 23 years old. You should not be told that you're okay and that you just are an athlete, that you run a lot, that you train a lot. And that's where I was. But at the time, I was getting justification from my doctors, from my parents, from everyone around me that I was okay. And obviously, I'm not going to say that something's wrong with me. So my protocol for healing was bed rest for a while, which I did. after I got in trouble for not doing it and was threatened with pins in my pelvis, and that was not an option for me. So I did the bed rest. The other option was taking a bunch of medication to support my frail bones and basically my declining health at 23. And I didn't want that. I was 23 years old. I had so much life left to live. I was not going to just take medicine and accept the fact that running was not something that I should be doing. I was told that weightlifting was a good sport that I should try, or not necessarily sport, but just a good exercise that I should do, and that running over a 5K was probably not in the books for me ever again because of the frailty of my bones. And I called bullshit. Mostly because I was stubborn and I didn't want to accept the fact that I was never going to run again. Later on, there was more meaning behind it. I learned much more and I gained a lot of maturity around the issue. I recovered from my fracture by swimming. It was something that was easy for me to do, no pressure on my pelvis, and it helped me get to a place where I was feeling healthy or healthier again, mentally and physically. I felt so broken when I was told I couldn't run anymore, because that was my saving grace. That was my hiding place. That was my safe place. That was where I could go anytime I needed to just get in my head. And so getting my swimming back, I eventually got to get on a bike, and we bring in my mom again. She said she wanted to try a triathlon. And I was like, what? You want to do a triathlon? You don't swim, you don't bike. But if you're going to do it, I'm going to do it. And so we had this friendly competition, I guess, of like, if you can do it, I can do it. And so I started training for a sprint triathlon. Again, crossed that finish line, I fell in love. It's like, this is it. I'm not running all the time, so I'm not crushing my body. And I still get to experience this feeling, and I still get to go out and have that euphoric sensation of going on, having a runner's high, or like just pushing my body to my limits. And I loved it. Weightlifting was not an option for me. Not at all. I had never touched weights over 5 pounds. Maybe like in the spin classes that we would do in college, we would get our little weights similar to like the cycle classes that they have now. And we would pump our little weights, but I did not lift weights. Didn't touch them. It wasn't until I started learning more and more about my body, and I wanted to understand why this fracture happened. I wanted to understand what I needed to do to be able to swim, bike, and run, and to live a lifestyle where things were okay, where I could go out and do this and I didn't feel destroyed all the time. And so I started researching nutrition. I started researching more about training for triathlons, training for running, how you do it well, how you do it right. And I was just educating myself, and that became like a lifelong goal for me. It was like a big F you. I'm going to figure this out on my own, and I'm going to make it work. And so that's what happened. I ended up finding CrossFit, and I gave CrossFit a go. It was terrifying, and it was during my tri training. And so tri training was number one. Dove into CrossFit. I was a 93-pound little thing that did endurance every single day. I knew nothing about weightlifting, and CrossFit was so much fun. I had to keep going back. Even though I sucked at it, even though I looked so awkward lifting those weights, I just kept going back, and my body started changing, and my mindset started changing. My races started getting better. I was running faster, and I wanted more of this, whatever this was. And I would see these awesome chicks walk in with their shredded bodies, and I was like, damn, how do you get that? Because I've been trying to run forever and I am not achieving those goals. So I luckily had an incredible coach at our gym that introduced me to strength training. And he was, even though CrossFit was a great component and introduction to weightlifting, wasn't the amount of strength that I wanted to actually put on the muscle that I needed. So I started doing barbell class. We were doing the mostly like powerlifting movements. We were doing push press. We were doing or overhead press. We were doing deadlifts. We were doing back squat. We were doing bench press. So I was learning all of these movements, and I was adding in accessory work just because I truly wanted to gain muscle. And at the same time, I promised that I would eat more, because you need to eat food to put on muscle. And I failed miserably the first 2 attempts at this. I put on more like just weight in general than I did muscle, because I wasn't doing it right. I was training heavy, and then I would go lift weights. So I would go run, lift weights, eat a lot sometimes, eat a little sometimes. I wasn't consistent at all. And it wasn't until after probably like my 3rd go round where I was like, I swear I'm going to do this. I'm going to stop doing endurance for a while, and I want to see what I can do. And I ended up going through 2 cycles of a massing phase. Throughout those 2 cycles, I ended up putting on a total of 20 pounds, a lot of muscle, and some healthy body fat. And then through that kind of just, that was the catalyst. That experience of fracturing my pelvis was, I would say, the catalyst to exposing me to so many different things. And then when I got to CrossFit, that just accelerated and enhanced my desire to learn about nutrition and strength and also endurance. I was told for so long that you can't combine strength and endurance. And it wasn't until a couple of years ago that a man named Alex completely transformed the way that I thought about it and validated what I had been searching for forever, of the ability to combine strength and endurance and do it well and feel good while you're doing it. And so now that I have had so many years of experience with just training this way, experimenting with my body, educating myself, going to seminars, getting certifications, learning as much as I can, I've realized the importance, and I've also experienced the importance of what strength training can do for your body, especially for women in endurance. I was diagnosed with osteopenia at 23. Yet 4 years later, after doing CrossFit and strength training, I walked out of my last bone density scan with normal bone density for my age. It was the most wonderful feeling to see that I, through nutrition and exercise and educating myself, fixed a problem that I was told I needed medication for that was not fixable, that I just needed to change my lifestyle. And that's why I do what I do. That's why I want more women to experience this. That's why I want to get my message out there, and I want to help women change their narrative when it comes to diet and exercise, because diet and exercise is an incredible tool to help you achieve the things that you want to achieve in life and feel the way that you want to feel. And so, with all of that being said, I only wanted this to be 15 minutes, but here we are at 20. I now, in hindsight, know when I was in college, we have words for what I was experiencing. I was experiencing orthorexia. It was not anorexia, and I did not like that label, nor did I want somebody to label me that. But orthorexia, I could accept. It took me a while, but that's what I had. It's an obsession with being healthy. It's like you are obsessed with healthy living to the point that you're taking it to the extreme and your body is not functioning the way it should. I also suffered from something called RED-S, which is relative energy deficiency. And that is basically not fueling enough for your sport. So I was eating enough for an average human, but I was also training for triathlons, for half irons, for marathons that needed more fuel, and I was not giving my body that fuel. And so throughout this entire process, I have completely wrecked my hormones. I have fractured a pelvis. And I have had to start from the bottom and crawl my way up multiple times. And I've now accepted that my behaviors is how I got here. It wasn't that my body wasn't capable of it. It was that I chose certain behaviors and I chose to disrespect my body and ignore my body to the extreme where I hurt myself and I got knocked down, and I got knocked down hard for years. I am currently coming off hormone replacement therapy. Hopefully, only a couple more weeks, y'all. It has been a journey. And I am on this incredible road. I'm training with the best of the best coaches in hybrid training. I am increasing my strength. I am increasing my endurance. I'm learning so much about my body, and I want to share that with y'all. So that's why I'm here. And I can't wait to share that. If you guys have any questions about my story, if you've experienced similar things, I would love to hear about them in the comments. Seriously, any questions that you have, anything you want to dive deeper into, I am happy to talk. I am an open book. I have learned over the years that being reserved and feeling shameful about my story is not the way to make impact or make others feel good about it. There's no shame in what happened. It is what it is, and I'm grateful that it happened because it got me here. And what I'm able to do here with the experiences that I have and now the knowledge and education that I have is far more valuable than me being able to go out and train appropriately when I was younger. So please ask questions, reach out to me. Please subscribe if this resonates with you, if you want to learn more about how you can start lifting heavier, how you can get your nutrition to work with you, not against you. Definitely subscribe because we're going to be talking a lot about it. I'm going to show up here every week. I promise you that. And I look forward to meeting some of you, chatting with some of you, and just hearing your stories. So please, if you've experienced something similar to this, let me know in the comments. I would love to connect. Have a great day, y'all. I'm going to take that out because I don't like to flick anybody off.